I don't know whether I should say good morning or oh shit. It's funny, 4:44, and even though I'm chuckling, that's not my mood. So this is a mask to cover up what I've really been feeling lately. The title is Confessions About a Very Draining Day. With a title like that, why would anyone even want to listen? In fact, why do I even want to talk about it publicly? The truth is, I don't. Yet I promised authenticity. That includes telling the truth about my own struggles, which I have been doing all along. You can listen or not as I share some of the challenges and observations going on in my life at this time. Indeed, yesterday was a very draining day. But the truth is, it's a very draining day with cumulative effect of many days over actually the past month and a half. Since my friend, when asked, will you stand with me when I go to court in relationship to them trying to steal my house, which, of course, that matter still isn't resolved, though by law it should be. But, of course, courts don't keep the law. Banks don't keep the law. It's a criminal operation. But my friend told me no. And, all right, I understood the reasons. Although this was a friend that I considered probably one of my best friends in the whole world. And to be told, no, I'm not going to stand with you in court was really it felt like a slap in the face. That's what it felt like. It felt like the support was conditional, but that wasn't even the issue. The issue was after a conversation or two following that, I was sent by this individual a video by Muji that explained the position for not wanting to get involved in legal issues of fighting the system, because the system is just an illusion. Well, so is war. So is violence. So is physical existence. So is making love. So is everything. It's just an illusion. I'm so fucking sick and tired of hearing new age, new thought people say it's just an illusion, so I don't want to get involved in trying to make the world better. But this was my best friend. Long time, over 20 years, my best friend. And it began a period of deep introspection and feeling not just unsupported by one individual, but unsupported by an entire community that I considered the place where I would get my batteries refilled and recharged. And I will get to yesterday in due time. But this is what was building up over a period of time. And on Friday, I actually sent out a message to the communities telling them how I felt. Do I have that message handy? Let me just click this on here a minute. In the end, I started my message to my spiritual community on Metagroups with this quote from Martin Luther King Jr. In the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read this. As someone who has a long and undeniable history of serving my spiritual local community for many years, it was recently revealed to me yet again how much pain I still feel when I reflect on how the community has treated me. There was a post on Facebook today about wanting people to come to the New Way pod where I served faithfully for nearly 5.5 years, missing only 4 Sundays in all that time. I responded with this comment. I ran into a man in Titusville on Wednesday at Unity where I heard Armand and Angelina. He asked me how things were going at the pod. Obviously, he hasn't been there for a while. I'll most likely visit for the Christmas concert and most likely in January when A&A will be doing a Saturday night concert. I especially miss the pod music, which I see as second to none. I don't miss the judgments for my activism in trying to create a better world. That last sentence is how I feel about the entire metaphysical community here in Brevard County, not only the pod. If you find my attempts to awaken people and inspire action that will address issues we face as humans to be offensive, I honestly do not know how I am supposed to respond. Frankly, it hurts. I will still do my best to alert people to the injustices and outright criminality of governments, including ours, in our world. That's my job, my ministry. I know I cannot fix the problems alone, which is why it hurts so much when those I know and love, my friends, fail to stand with me, supporting me in trying to create a better world. Do you hear me? Do you hear the cries of the millions of hurting people around the world who are deprived of justice, healing, and remedies by the very people who have stolen our rights, the government? If we are ever going to become fully spiritual, we have to begin by being fully human. I'm tired and saddened by the silence of my friends. I posted that, and I got a few responses, not one of them supportive. Now, I did get a response back to what I had posted on the pod Facebook link from the new minister of the pod. And yesterday I went to hear Weep, which is a band in which the music director of the pod is one of the members. It's an all-female band. Excellent music, excellent original music. And I went to support them, and of course the minister was there, and I thanked him for sending me the only somewhat supportive message, although it was critical a little bit in the beginning about oversensitivity and stuff like that. Last night, though, he came and he listened. But before he came to me, and it was a bunch of pod people that were there for the concert last night, the early concert, because I actually went to two things last night. But in any case, another friend came up to me. Well, before I even get to that one, another friend came up to me and says, "How are you, Ron?" And when I began to tell her how I was, she said, "Well, why don't you ask me how I am? You don't even know who you're talking to." She did come over later and put her arm around me and told me she loved me. But she, when I answered her question, she was immediately on the attack of, "Why don't you ask how I am?" And I did. We had some conversation. But then somebody came up to me and looked at me and asked how I was and was with me. She didn't throw up the defensive barrier. She listened. And I felt heard. I got to share what I was feeling without being judged. I try to do that in my life. I wish I could say I always succeed. That would not be true. Sometimes I, too, throw up the defense mechanism, throw up the wall, because I don't want to get sucked into somebody else's drama either. Perhaps I did that Friday night when a friend chose to come and meet me to hear my son's band play that I mentioned in the previous video. But I had a wall up, and I didn't want to hear the drama that she's going through. It was too much. So I held her at bay and became quite aloof. And that's perhaps how I've been lately, because I've been on the defensive, feeling somewhat aloof. Sometimes even feeling like throwing in the towel. That's how I felt yesterday. I spoke with the ambassador early in the day, a very brief conversation. And I'm not going to detail what he said, but he said something that added to my introspection of how we deal with things. What do we see when we look at others? Do we see only demons? Or do we see the good that they're trying to accomplish? And quite well, I am going to detail it. Sometimes I think the ambassador and the red dragon only see the bad. And yet, when I look at them, I emphasize the good. Because that's what I don't see. Oh, they've got this issue that they're still working on. In fact, somebody asked me Friday night how the person who sold me my shofar, how are things going with the shofar? And I says, well, I've not been using it much anymore because I dropped out of the Bible classes. And he said, well, good. And I haven't been using the shofar. But I went on to say, but I totally support the red dragon. And again, I repeated the story of how he died. And Jesus came into the morgue and said, you're not finished yet. Raising him up, and he's obviously alive still. But he had died. Well, I respect people's experience. You think I'm ever going to argue with somebody that experienced something? I might not like to get involved in conversations of arguing over somebody's belief systems that were handed down from somebody else. But I'm certainly not going to challenge somebody that had a personal living experience and they're sharing their experience. I think that's a wonderful thing. And one of the ladies that was involved in that conversation said, I'm into Taoism. And I said, Taoism to me is one of the most pure of all so-called religions. And if there's anything that wouldn't even be labeled a religion, it's Taoism. But of course, we can make a religion out of anything. We've been doing it for generations, millennia. In any case, I was supportive of the red dragon. But I was asked by the ambassador, and actually by another individual Jace, who is the interpreter that interprets the Spanish English, had wanted me in the meeting. And so I actually sat there yesterday with the meeting thing on, ready to enter the room, but I just couldn't enter the room because I felt so discomforted because of all that's been going on in my life, because of the attitude of a particular individual there who thinks that I'm a blasphemer and has asked God to basically curse me and has talked about cursings and stuff like that. I so want to be over this idea of throwing rocks at people and only seeing the negative things. So I went out last night to hear Weep, and then I was going to go to a drum circle, but somebody came up to me and said, Sybil is going to be singing tonight right around the corner from my house, basically, less than 5 minutes from my house. And I had forgotten all about that, so I changed plans and I went to her concert instead of the drum circle last night. But I only made it through one set, halfway, well, a little more than halfway through where they were going to be playing. And I was feeling so heavy, even with the uplifting music and stuff like that. I was just, so much was going on inside of me that I just felt drained and I had to get home. And then I get home and there's 5 messages from the artist trying to reach me. I had been trying to reach her earlier in the day yesterday, but couldn't get through. Again, they're messing with her phone. They're messing with her communication systems. But she was finally able to get things back going again and was able to send me 5 messages. And so I called her and I said, I don't want a long conversation. It still went on for like 40 minutes or something like that. I didn't measure the time, but it was longer than I wanted because so many people want to keep telling me things when I'm trying to honor myself and get rest. And so it was a very frustrating day. And then I wake up, God, not even 2 o'clock yet. And I'm trying to get back to sleep, this morning, but I'm replaying all this stuff in my head, listening and listening and listening to all the mind chatter, if you will, and saying, Ron, what are you going to do? And thinking about this video. And here's where I am, folks. I really want to see the world change. You say, Ron, the world's outside of you. No, the world is inside of me. I don't want to look at the world through rose-colored glasses and only see the good and only hear nice things. I want to be a realist, not an idealist. I want to be positive attitude, but not to the exclusion of denying the negative. That's out of balance for me. I want to be able to look at people and I want to see the best in them, which I think I've succeeded a lot in. But when I look at the world, I see the worst. I see the worst, and I see people not lifting a finger or seemingly unconcerned about the suffering, unconcerned about the injustice. And I'll tell you the truth, it pisses me off. But my friend, the artist, said you're not supposed to feel angry because that's what they want. You're not supposed to be pissed off. Well, I'm sorry, damn it. I can't look at injustice. I can't look at violence and not want to change it, to stop it. And whose responsibility is it? Well, ultimately, and people aren't going to like this, it falls back on Creator. Call it God, call it whatever, but Creator is responsible for creation. And I will ask again, and this pisses me off more than anything, because more than anything else in all of my life, I'm angry at God for allowing the injustice, for not doing something about it. I'm pissed at God. And if this can't change, now that so many people are awake and so many people are trying to fix it, if those cries aren't heard, and all we're going to focus on is the worst in the people that are trying to do the most of your being negative, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. When is God going to stop the nonsense of allowing the dark forces to stop the people that have a vision for something better? When are the people that have a positive vision going to be empowered on our earth to actually accomplish something? It drains me. It drains my energy to see the dark forces seemingly able to win again and again and again against the people that have the biggest vision, the best vision, and try to offer the most hope. It makes me sick to see the inactivity on the part of the so-called powerful forces. Light is stronger than darkness. Truth is stronger than lies. But it doesn't seem to work that way in the world. To me. To me. It doesn't seem to work that way. And that's why I have very draining days like I did yesterday. That's what frustrates me. Brings up a lot of sadness and a lot of anger. Because I despise the injustices that I see in the world around me. And I will never be free until all of my brothers and sisters are free. I will never be able to be happy until we can all celebrate in the streets and rejoice, because finally, we've been set free. Finally, we are able to live in love and to enjoy one another, because we're finally free of the serious, bastardly issues that we've been facing unjustly for so long. That's my message for today. Thank you for listening. Namaste.